What's up everybody, I'm HoopsandHipHop. Really quick before we get started, I just wanted to remind you guys about my Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee giveaway. If I can reach 1,500 followers on Spotify and 6,000 monthly listeners on there by the time the games come out, I will be giving away a copy of each game. So if you enjoy my remixes, go ahead and give me a follow over there and help me give away some free games. I would really appreciate it. Now, on to the video. So throughout the history of this channel, every once in a while, I'll make a video where I state a strong personal opinion about something, and the comment section proceeds to blow up at me. Sometimes it's expected, and other times it catches me completely off guard, but it's no secret that over the years I have had some hated Pokemon opinions. So I figured why not compile the 5 most hated opinions of mine into one video to really ramp up the rage. Now, obviously the key word here is opinion, and it's fine if you think differently. I just thought I'd go ahead and give a little more detail on why I feel the way I do about these controversial thoughts of mine. And so, with all that being said, here goes nothing, I guess. Well, we might as well go ahead and start off the video on what is probably my most well-known hated opinion of mine, and that would be my opinion on certain starter Pokemon that I absolutely hate. There's 3 starter Pokemon in particular that I have voiced my distaste of over the years, and that would be Pignite, Delphox, and Incineroar. Ironically, all 3 fire types. Now, quickly taking a look at these Pokemon, I don't like Pignite at all because I think it's really ugly. It's a pig wearing a wrestler's uniform, which is just an unnecessary thought for me to have in my mind. Delphox is such a waste of potential, having a cool inspiration, a cool typing, but fails to capitalize on the concept, and it just looks really awkward and ugly. And Incineroar is kind of the same way, where Litten was cool, Torracat was cool, it's got a cool typing, but it did not, for the love of heck, need to stand on 2 legs, and to me personally, it just kind of looks like a buff version of Litten and kind of like a Looney Tune rather than a Pokemon. What really surprised me when I stated these opinions, especially with Delphox and Incineroar, was just how many Delphox and Incineroar supporters there actually were out there. I was personally under the impression, particularly with Delphox most of all, that everyone hated these Pokemon for the most part, and it was pretty much a consensus that it was just an unpopular, ugly-looking Pokemon, or Incineroar was not a good Pokemon because it stands on hind legs, etc., etc. However, you guys came out of the woodwork on each and every one of these opinions and told me why you loved Delphox, Incineroar, and Pignite, and honestly, that's perfectly fine. Just when it comes to my personal opinion, like I said, all of their looks just look either awkward or ugly or kind of disturbing to me in Pignite's case. The next opinion of mine I'm going to talk about would be the most recent opinion that once again received an unprecedented and unexpected amount of backlash that I wasn't really planning on, and that would be my personal opinion that the animation and overall quality of the Sun and Moon anime frankly sucks. Now, once again, similar to my opinions on Delphox and Incineroar, I was personally under the impression that many people, most people in fact, did not like the Sun and Moon anime art style, and we were all pretty much in agreement that it looked bad and looked low quality. However, when I stated this opinion, the supporters of this art style and of the Sun and Moon anime came out in droves to basically roast me and tell me why my opinion was very, very wrong. Now, in short, I don't like the Sun and Moon anime art style animation at all because I think it looks really low quality. I think it's such a drop-off from the previous series, the X and Y series, and I think it takes the anime in a wrong direction and makes it way too kiddie and jokey and just way too immature, rather than kind of striking a balance between the two, which Pokemon has done a really good job of, and it's kind of been their focus to do that in the games, for example, so why not the anime too? Now, the biggest thing that people pointed out when I stated this opinion is that it's not the quote-unquote animation that I hate, I guess, it's the art style that I hate. And people wanted to tell me how little I actually knew about animation. Well, guess what? It's my opinion to have regardless of what you personally feel, and regardless of whether it's the animation or the art style, I really don't like either of them for a Pokemon anime. Yes, the animation and the, way things are portrayed and the fluidity of it, I guess, is all well and good, but I don't really feel like it's well and good for a Pokemon anime. Like I said, we're trying to, or at least we want to have a balance between the kid-friendly stuff, which is kind of what they're going for with Sun and Moon, and the more mature stuff. And obviously there is a market for this more mature style of anime because there are plenty of older Pokemon fans who have voiced their desire for this, and that is frankly how we got Pokemon Origins and Generations. And in those types of anime, you don't see the stretchy goofiness that you see in the Sun and Moon anime, on top of the art style being bad as well. So frankly, I don't like either of those things. The third opinion here is one that I guess is shared a little more universally by more of the Pokemon fans than I guess the last two were, but I've still received a little bit of backlash for it, and that would be my, I guess, continued Gen 5 hate over the years. Now, I haven't really came out and said in a video that Gen 5 is terrible and I hate it, because I don't think that. However, I have made it known that it is my least favorite, and many of the Pokemon and different aspects of the Gen 5 games I have stated are my least favorite Pokemon, mechanics, what have you. And just like with those other two opinions, the people who support Gen 5 and really like it are very passionate about the fact that they think Gen 5 is good. So whenever I kind of state some negativity about Gen 5, people are always quick to come at me and ask me why or critique my opinion. Like I said, while I don't hate Gen 5 by any means, my biggest personal problem with it is the Pokemon. Even though there are a lot of good Pokemon in Gen 5, I feel like there are way more low quality bad Pokemon than there should be, and I frankly feel like they should have had their standard for what would make the final game in terms of a Pokemon design. I think they should have had that a little higher than they ultimately did, because I think a lot of Pokemon got through to the final games that really shouldn't have been there at all. Number 4 on the list is another more recent opinion, and it's also another opinion that's kind of like shared by some people, but other people have voiced their displeasure with the fact I feel this way, and that would be my kind of dislike, I guess, of Generation 7, and more specifically, the trials of Generation 7. Shortly after the release of Sun and Moon, I made a video on the top 5 worst things about Sun and Moon, and one of the top picks for me were the trials. I personally believe the trials are a terrible replacement for gyms, because while they are different and different can be good, and it's cool to see Game Freak trying new things, I felt like the trials were way too simple, way too short, and didn't provide enough challenge like the way the gyms did in previous generations. For example, I felt that Lana's trial in Sun and Moon was way too short. I felt that Kiawe's trial was frankly kind of stupid, even though it was trying to be funny, and I recognize that. I think it was just dumb and unnecessary, and even though it got kind of rectified in Ultra Sun and Moon, I feel like the fact that Mina's trial was literally non-existent and she just gave you her Z-Ring was really stupid. On top of that, Generation 7 just kind of has this aura around it for me that just kind of makes me not want to go back and play it again. Now, a big reason for a lot of people as to why they don't like Sun and Moon are the amounts of cutscenes and how much time they take to get through, and while this personally wasn't a problem for me because I like cutscenes because they present story, and I liked seeing more story in this Pokemon game, even with that said, I still just feel like going back to Sun and Moon and playing it again would be really hard for me to do. Because when I went through and played Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, those games were 80% identical to Sun and Moon. And let me tell you, it was a drag to try and get through, and probably the only reason I got through it as fast as I did was because I needed to complete it for the purpose of the channel. So while Gen 7 wasn't bad by any means, and it did introduce a lot of good things like Alola forms for instance, it did leave me with kind of a bad taste in my mouth, and I'm hoping Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee and Generation 8 next year can solve that. And for the last pick on my list, it's slightly different because it's not my opinion here that is hated, it's actually the things that I like that are hated in general, and that would be unpopular Pokemon that I actually enjoy. Once again, I made a video a little while ago called Unpopular Pokemon I Actually Love, and I talked about Pokemon that are pretty much universally hated, such as Probopass and Licky for instance, that I actually personally like and don't have any problem with. With Probopass and Licky Licky, for instance, I made the argument that it's okay that they look goofy and stupid and kind of derpy, because we can't have every single Pokemon looking super BA and awesome and strong and cool and intense, because then that doesn't provide any variety. And obviously when you're talking about a species that is so similar to the animals of our own world, variety is key, and the games are going to get pretty boring if there's no variety in the creatures, so it's okay to have some Pokemon that are derps. I would recommend going to check out that video if you want to learn about more Pokemon that I personally like that are unpopular, because I'm not going to go over all of them here. The point here, though, is that it's okay for Pokemon to be weird and stupid sometimes. A lot of people hate when Pokemon look stupid, but I personally like to give them the benefit of the doubt, and when you do that, you find a lot of endearing qualities about these unpopular Pokemon that makes me really like them. And frankly, it's much more enjoyable to like a Pokemon than to hate a Pokemon. Well, there you have it, everybody. Now, I know I am not the only one who feels this way about these things, but I obviously know there's plenty others who feel otherwise as well. Even though I feel strongly about my own opinions, you may feel the same way about yours as well, so let me know in the comments below if you agree with me or if you feel differently, and why your opinion is the way it is. If you enjoyed the video, please consider giving it a like as well, because it really helps out, and if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe because I upload Pokemon content each and every week. Also, if you would like to support the channel further, you can go ahead and check out my Patreon, where I offer a ton of really cool perks. It only costs $1 a month, and it really helps the channel immensely to bring you guys videos every week the way I have been able to for the past couple of months. So with all of that being said, I will be back on Tuesday with another video, so hit that notification bell so you can know when it goes live, and until then, as always, I will smell you guys later.